Come on, let's see if it works. Are we live? Are we live, guys? I cannot tell. Are we live on YouTube? Huh. All right. All right, I think we're live now. Sweet. Boy, there is, this is my first live stream, guys. So this is going to be, this is going to be interesting. Okay, perfect. No echo, echo. This is really wild, guys. Try to do all this for everybody. Yep. Okay, perfect. Am I good? Everybody, I'm good? All right. Okay, so how we're going to do this, guys, is I'm just going to try to answer as many questions as possible from y'all to see if I can help. So whatever those questions may be, throw them at me, whether it's CNC, whether it's marketing. And I'm just going to gauge how this live stream goes in order to do live streams in the future. So if this live stream goes well and we get a certain type of questions, I'll bring somebody else on in the future, and we'll go about it that way. So just depending on what kind of questions we get, what kind of crowd we have, whatever, I'm just here to answer questions to help. So I have Charlie on as well. So Charlie's going to be kind of backstage helping out. So Charlie is our biz dev director of business development. And so he's going to be backstage kind of helping me coordinate all this because I'm pretty computer illiterate. But yeah, I'd like to thank everyone. Welcome to the first live, and let's get after it. So let's see if I can pin this question. I don't really know how to do it, but we'll see. We will see. All right, and so Michael Wilson asked a question. He says, Ryan, what is the best way, in your opinion, to grow a Facebook page that currently has a small following? And the way to grow something like that is, if you have a small following, it really depends what you're selling. But I think the number one thing, Michael, that I see people make the mistake of is is that what people do when they post on Facebook, especially woodworkers, they attract other woodworkers, right? So what they do is they think that their customers will think woodworking is cool. And a lot of times that's not the case, right? So it depends what you're making. For instance, in my company, we're making piggy banks, and we make a ton of piggy banks. And so I used to show the process of making piggy banks and doing all the piggy bank stuff, showing the saw cutting, the CNC working, and all that attracted was other woodworkers and other people that are trying to copy me. And so what I did over a long period of time is I learned that I wanted to show how I packaged that product. And so I started doing, I took a GoPro, I strap it on my head, and then I do packaging videos of that piggy bank because that's what my target audience is going to do. So for you, you have a small amount of followers. So one, you got to regularly post, right? You got to post all the time, post every day, just post something. It doesn't matter what, because you don't have a big enough following to care, right? They're not going to care what you're posting at this point. And two, don't make it about, not everything has to be about the process. It is about, kind of what the customer wants. And if you can figure out what the customer loves, then that's what you post. But I constantly see that happening with different people on social media in woodworking, is that they do not post what the customer wants. They post what they think is cool, and they don't post often enough. So I hope that answers the question there for you. All right. Let's see if we got another question in here. I think we had another, and throw them at me, guys. I'm just here to help. I know y'all have a lot of questions. And so, yeah, I'm just here to help y'all out. Yeah. So Michael, yeah, once again, like short clips is good, but the main thing is consistency. So like with Drapela Works, I had a theory that if I posted every single day for 90 days straight, I could grow my channel to I can grow my following to 10,000 followers. And I didn't follow through with it all the way, but I posted every single day for 40 days. And I went from 0 followers on TikTok to 4,000 followers on TikTok in a 40-day period, just with posting regularly every single day. And so some videos sucked, some got a whole bunch of views, but eventually, you know, that viewership kind of went up, right? And so it's really a lot about consistency and just understanding what your customer wants. So I hope that helps. By the way, I'm drinking some Woodford Reserve Double Oaked while we're doing this. So that way, get a little buzz on. All right. What do you do? So we got another question. It is, oh, I can show it. Look at this. I'm learning, guys. Oh, hot dang. Look at that. I'm learning, guys. What do you do? What do you dip your products in? Is it mineral oil? Great question. CW3MH6. I dip all of my 90% of my stuff in just some mineral oil. Sometimes I've put that beeswax conditioner on it, right? Where you melt, 1 part beeswax to 3 part mineral oil, and you melt those together. Sometimes I use Odie's oil and Osmocote. So depending on what it is, but most of my stuff gets dipped in mineral oil. And what I found is that eliminates a process that's really hard for, the finishing process in woodworking is extremely difficult. Like that's usually the most labor intensive, the most time consuming, the most expensive. And so by eliminating that, by just dipping stuff in mineral oil, not everything can be dipped in mineral oil, but a lot of things can. And so by dipping in there, I eliminated the most expensive process in all of woodworking, which is the finishing process. And that has really helped. But I do love Osmocote. It's awesome. And they actually have a food safe Osmocote. And so we put that on like our stovetop covers and stuff like that on our noodle boards and whatnot. So great question. But that's worked for me for the last 10 years, and I haven't had too many complaints. And then you can always like sell the customer mineral oil later on as well, right? Or just tell them to go to the pharmacy section in a grocery store and pick up their own mineral oil. All right. See if we have another question. I actually like this one right here. What is more important, business or woodworking skills? That's a pretty solid question. It really depends what stage you're at. So I would say I'm probably, and like you can go to, I always like to look at extremes when you kind of try to judge something like this, which extreme, like if you only know business and no woodworking, can you make a successful woodworking business? And if you only know woodworking and know zero about business, can you make a successful business? And I don't think one extreme or the other, you can actually be extremely, like, can you be successful if you're a super good woodworker and know nothing about business? Yes, to a point, but you have to learn business kind of along the way. So I started off as a passionate woodworker that, learned business along the way. And I actually think now I love more business than woodworking, right? Because that's just kind of how I've started leaning and growing over time, is like, I love numbers. I love systems. I love designing stuff. I love creating stuff. And so I get to do that with woodworking and business. And so, I would say, you need to know something about woodworking first. If you don't know anything, then like, but the best woodwork in the world it does not have the biggest woodworking company, right? That's just not a fact. And so you have to kind of jump in between both, right? You have to be there, getting your hands dirty, getting dusty, right? Learning about different finishes, learning when sandpaper gets hot, how does it feel? When does it get dull? What is hook and loop? You have to learn all that stuff. And then you also have to be reading business books and studying, what the heck is a financial statement? And you don't have to go that deep, but how do I work these numbers? How do I market? How do I brand? And so it's a good mixture of both. And that's kind of why I love woodworking, because it's a highly skilled thing that you have to combine business with. And so, I really like it. But yeah, so what's more important? I'd say woodworking skills early on and then business later on. So hope that answers your question as well. Let me unpin that now. Boop. Perfect. So what do we got next? All right, Doug Stevens asked me a good question. Is the Onefinity a good CNC machine to use for somebody that's new to CNC or an old woodworker? A good machine is the Onefinity machine a good machine to use for a new to CNC old woodworker? A good machine to start a small business? Okay, restart a small CNC business. And so I tell people this all the time, and I haven't got to really say it in a video. And you're welcome, by the way, for answering the last question. Ian Washir 1 2 3 4 5. But for you, Doug, I mean, the thing I tell people about like entry level CNCs, because this is in the entry level category, right? It doesn't really matter which one you get. It's just you have to start. That's what I just constantly tell people, that like it matters to a point, but it matters like in the grand scheme of things, right? Like here's the whole, let's say this is the grand scheme of things. Let me bring it back over here. This is the grand scheme of things. What CNC you get is about this much, because after a week or two, you're going to understand whatever CNC you have. You're going to understand its capabilities after a month of using it. You're going to watch my channel, other channels, and just kind of like understand it. And then after that, it's all about what product are you making? How are you branding it? Where are you selling it at? All of those the other 95% of it. But like your CNC is just a tool. So it's like, what planer is the best? And let's say the small DeWalt $500 planer is the best planer, right? But like a planer that planes wood is the best planer for you, right? Like whether it's a $500 planer, a $600 planer, or $400 planer, some are better than others. But at the end of the day, you just need wood to get planed, and you're going to make product with it. And if it sucks, hopefully you make enough product with it to buy the next best thing. And so like whether it's Onefinity, Shapeoko, Alt Mill, all these other different kinds, they all are entry-level CNCs that are going to work pretty good, but you're not going to be able to run them at 500 inches a minute like an industrial CNC. So as long as you just get one and start making products and learn the basics about vectors and nodes and G code, that's where you're going to start finding yourself being successful, right? And then you'll understand, like even my Laguna IQ, right? I have that one, and it's cut out hundreds of thousands of dollars of product. If I would have got a different machine, would it have still cut out $100,000 worth of product? Yes, right? This just happens to be the machine I went with. So I think people put a lot of stress on, they spend 100 hours researching what CNC it is that they want to buy, but they spend 2 hours researching the customer base that they want to sell to. And I think that's where most people go wrong. I don't know if that makes sense, but yeah. And then you have a follow-up question with me is, how about a spindle versus a router or a water-cooled spindle? Spindles are always better than routers, in my opinion. They're like 3 times better, but if you can afford it, right? I've always went with spindles. They're going to last longer. So you're going to burn up, if you're really using your CNC, you're going to burn up a few routers. And then by the time you purchase 3 or 4 different routers to put in your CNC and all the sanding time you're going to spend, you're going to wish you got a spindle, but it is kind of hard dropping that $1,000, that $1,200 on a spindle kit when you're first starting off. So you can start off with the router, and then you'll understand how much better a spindle is when you upgrade to it. But once again, the most important thing is, making products with your CNC when you first get started. I mean, it doesn't matter what it is, just start making stuff and start trying to sell it. Hope that helps, Doug. Okay. STL Woodworks has a great question. By the way, STL is great, guys. If y'all are not, following his stuff, following his TikTok, his channel, all that good stuff. He is phenomenal. He is a great guy, Greg. And so, Greg, thank you for the question. Greg asked, if someone's getting into CNC or starting a CNC business, do you have an online course they could start with? And what CNC or CAD would you say to start with? So I do have, this is something I thought was kind of lost in the CNC world, is once I started really getting into this and learning about, once I got Onefinity and started learning what people are dealing with nowadays. So when I started off, there wasn't anything out there. I think Router Bob. So if any of y'all know Router Bob, leave that in the comments, because Router Bob was like the guy I watched growing up trying to learn CNC, and Router Bob was awesome, right? And now I finally finished up my CNC course. It's going to be called CNC or CIC Academy. We're launching that September the 4th. So it's launching here in about 3 weeks. And I filmed over 45 videos explaining everything from, how my mindset works to how a CNC operates, basic projects to get you started, how I've picked $1 million products, how I've branded them, how I've sold, I have an Etsy course on there. I have what channel to sell it on. And then I just walk through my shop and give you tours of how I batch production, how I use jigs, how I do fixtures. So how I ship my products. And so I spent a little over 500 hours over the last 6 months getting this academy ready. And so it's a pretty big deal. We're launching that September the 4th. And then the next thing to your question, Greg, is what CAD would you say to start with? Man, it's hard to go wrong with Vectric V-Carve Pro. It's really hard to go wrong. I haven't found a better software, and I don't get paid by them. I don't do anything with them. But Vectric V-Carve Pro, by far the best that I've found. I've used it for the last 12 years, and it's amazing. It's really good. 100%. I have Aspire as well. I just don't do a lot of 3D modeling. So I've always just used V-Carve Pro. Hey, all right. Thank you. Look at that. Thank you, Charlie. Yeah, you live to fight another week. Thank you. Thank you, Greg, for the question. Ooh, all right. Michael has a question. Which book have you read that would help me understand how to run a small business? Number one book on that is probably The E-Myth by Michael Gerber. That's probably my favorite book on how to run a small business. That's the first book that helped me understand that the business is separate from the person. And I think a lot of people make a mistake whenever they're pricing their products, right? They put their labor cost in there, they put the material cost, and then they don't understand why they're putting a margin on top of that. And E-Myth is really good. And so, I think E-Myth by Michael Gerber. And then probably a really good book to help me kind of understand I have a big philosophy of focus, like how important focus is in running a business, and especially in the CNC world. And that is The One Thing by, his last name is Kelly, I believe, but it's The One Thing, and it's amazing. It's an amazing book. It just talks about how to focus on one thing and be the best at it. There you go. I just saved you time, but it's a really good book. So E-Myth by Michael Gerber and The One Thing is a great book. Great question, Michael. Ooh. Fatfish Designs asked me a question. He said, by the way, met Fatfish, man, it was great meeting you at IWF. We had a great talk by the Shop Saber booth. This guy is killing it in his business. He's doing great, and he's looking at, kind of starting to kind of grow. And, an E-Myth, the E-Myth would actually be a really good book for you if you haven't already read it. But most efficient way to move large sheet material. There's a grabber actually that I've used in the past that kind of helps me pick stuff up. It's like a plywood grabber. I don't know. I can maybe find the link. Yeah, it's pretty good. But if you're messing with really heavy sheets, 100+ pounds, be stronger. I don't know. I haven't figured out a good way. We have cart systems and stuff. We put them on a cart. But as far as getting that sheet to go from this way to this way without just heaving and hoeing, I have not found a good option. It's just lots of strength. That's all. Yeah, lots and lots of strength. So, but yeah, once again, this guy is absolutely killing it. Fat Fish. He's doing all the right things. He's learning business. He's making sales. And as we were talking at IWF, the one thing that he has done is he's found him a niche and he's stuck with it, and it's growing. And couldn't be more proud of him. He gets me excited. He motivates me a lot because he's just killing it. So, yeah, Fat Fish, you're doing great, man. All right. Let me see if I can find another question. And guys, great questions on this. Great questions. Let's see. Aldrin asked me a question. Let me see if I can find that question real quick. All right. Let me put Aldrin asked this, but I didn't know how to pin it. So what's my next big goal for myself or my business? Do you reach a point where you get bought out? So for me personally, that's a great question. Yeah, that's a excellent question. For me, I'm huge on family. We didn't grow up with a lot, and like my goal in life as of right now, and this is my goal. My goals have changed over the years, but my number one goal is to get a ranch to move all of my family there so we can raise all of our kids and they can shoot squirrels and go fishing and all that stuff all on the ranch. And so the next big goal is all about family, all about trying to get that ranch so my family can live on it. I have it mapped out in my head exactly what I want. I visualize it almost daily. And so I have a price point on that ranch that I want to spend on it. And so getting to that number is my goal right now. As I get closer to that number, my goal is probably going to change because I absolutely love this. Somebody asked me the other day, Ryan, what would you do if, you got $100 million, right? And all I told them was I would build a really big wood shop with really nice tools. Like I would, that's all I would do, because there's nothing better than woodworking and doing that, like working with your hands. And so as far as, financial goal, yeah, just trying to get that ranch for my family. Past that, I would just build a big shop on it and continue doing this because, I'm young, obviously, but that's all I want to do in life. I love creating stuff with my hands and love taking care of my family. And so that's my goal. Yeah, great question. Yeah, and Gator Lift was that sheet carrier, by the way. That was the sheet carrier I was talking about. It's called Gator Lift. I think it's on Amazon. So let's see if we got another question here. Oh, all right. Thoughts on a water-cooled versus air-cooled spindles for Onefinity? Man, to keep this in context, all the industrial machines that I've had. Thank you. $10 for the ranch. Thank you so much, Haldrian. I'm guessing it's Halderon. I'm very bad at pronouncing names. Thank you so much. That's awesome. Thank you. So thoughts on a water-cooled spindle versus air-cooled spindle for Onefinity. All the industrial tools, all the industrial CNCs that I have, they all have air-cooled spindles. I don't know why they all have air-cooled spindles, but that's all the, industrial machines that I have. All of the hobbyist type CNCs, my Onefinity, my IQs, all have water-cooled spindles. I do not know why that is what it is. I don't think you can go wrong either way. Air-cooled spindles are slightly louder. There's some kind of fascination with water-cooled spindles and how, you can run it for a long period of time. But most CNC runs, as long as it's not longer than an hour and you're running at 18,000 RPMs, like the spindle's not going to get that hot, right? But if you're doing long, like 3D carvings, a whole bunch, you know, a water cooled spindle may be a good option because that water is going to keep that spindle cold and you're going to be able to run for a long period of time. So I don't think it's one way or another. I've actually thought about this the other day. Once again, all of my industrial machines all have air cooled spindles. All my hobbyists have water cooled. I don't think you can go wrong either way. I've had success with both. I've had success with both. So, anyways, thank you, Nate. Great question there. So, boom. Let's see. We have another question. Haldran actually asked another question up here. Right here. When you were smaller, what did you do for marketing or graphic design? How has that changed as your business has grown? So whenever I was smaller, and sorry, I'm just like going through these guys. If this is too, you know, if I'm not answering these well enough or answering them, you know, good enough, just let me know in the comments if I'm doing a good job with all this. I know there's a lot of questions and I'm just trying to answer them all for you. So I did all the marketing and graphic design when I was smaller. I used a website called Be Funky. It was like $10 a month to get the membership. It's still around. I still use it. I'm very good at it now because that's all I used. Yeah, it's called befunky.com. It's great. As I have gotten more along in the business, I started using Fiverr and Upwork to find freelancers that are 10 times better than me at doing this. And that's what I use now. So as I progressed in the business, you know, obviously I can't do a whole bunch of marketing all the time and a whole bunch of graphic design anymore. But so I use Fiverr, Upwork. But when I was starting off, I used Be Funky. And if like, I'll still use Be Funky for like that, some of the stuff you even see on YouTube. So some of my thumbnails that I make, it's all on Be Funky. So good question again. And by the way, thanks for the $10 for the ranch, man. Really appreciate that. The skiing Jeep. Awesome. Have you had any luck improving a vacuum suction through MDF, such as when the workpiece is smaller than the zone under the MDF? Yeah. What may I ask a follow-up question to you? What size vacuum vacuum pump do you have, the skiing Jeep? And I can probably answer that a little better for you. By the way, guys, I'm kind of a whiskey connoisseur. So if y'all can leave a comment on what your favorite bourbon or favorite tequila is, let me know. And maybe, you know, as we do these lives, we can, you know, we'll talk about some drinks and some mixers. So let me know. My favorite cheapie is probably Wild Turkey Rare Breed. It's probably my favorite. That's my favorite daily drinker, my go-to. That's my favorite whiskey. Let's see. Skiing Jeep, do you come back with my my answer about the vacuum? Nope. Skiing Jeep, I'll come back to you on this question if you give me the size of your vacuum pump. So somebody else, Mike, asked, how often do I need to change the water on the Laguna IQ? I'd like to think I'm really good at this, but I'm not. Whenever it gets gross, that's when I change it. It's worked at things like 10 years old now. So whenever it gets all slimy and gross, I'll change it out and I put distilled water in there. So I don't use like tap water off the faucet or anything like that. It's distilled water, you know, spend $1 a gallon or whatever, fill it up. And that seemed to last a lot longer. And so they say like every week, I don't know why, don't do that. When it gets gross, change it. Yeah. Nothing complicated there. Boop. Ooh. Larceny, small batch. Alcohol ruins the brain. Couldn't agree more, but it sure is delicious, though. It sure is delicious. Booker's, Jack Daniel's Singleberry Rye. Yep. Knob Creek, Basil Hayden Straight. Yep. Love it. Awesome. Sweet, guys. Alcohol is what the elites use to keep the peasants in line. I'm not, not wrong, but it sure does taste good. All right, let's see. Right here, what we got. I have a 10 horsepower vacuum as well. My 4x8. I typically mill out a pocket in half. I typically mill out a pocket in the ebb to fit the workpiece and put some holes in it. It holds way better. So some things we do on our MDF, on our, we have a 15 horsepower vacuum on one of ours, a 10 horsepower vacuum on another, and a 44 horsepower vacuum on another one. Man, you got to cover up everything. One thing that we started doing is getting like a tarp or a really thick plastic and actually laying it out over the MDF, and it'll suck down really tight. And then wherever that product is you're going, you actually cut out that piece of, whatever it is that you're cutting out, and just cut through that plastic. And it's literally a super leak proof. Sometimes that cardboard leaks. Sometimes you put other pieces of material on there. The bit hits it. So if you get like a real thick, like 3 mil plastic, that's what you lay out. It's real cheap. You get like a 100-foot roll of it, and you just roll that out over your CNC, cut you a square, and then put your piece in there. And that has held it a lot better. And then get some masking tape, right? Take some masking tape and line the edges of that product as well. And that'll hold it a lot better. So, I haven't found a huge difference in the hold down capabilities of like a 10 to 15 horsepower vacuum pump. It's all depending on how much good suction that it has versus how big the pump is. So hope that helps. Okay, got it. Oh, got a question from Villanueva Woodworks. This guy is doing really good. He has a spectacular beard, by the way. So I definitely want to compliment you on that. And he got some cool products coming out. So his question was, I recently landed some large custom jobs after ordering my first CNC. When running batch jobs, is it better to run start to finish, or can I come back with my Carveco? It depends how big the job is on that one. If you got it really depends. I mean, if nobody touches your CNC or anything like that, if you don't need it for anything else, you can kill it and then always come back later and start it back up. But I like to run stuff all the way through because y'all know as well as I do, if something's going to go wrong, it will go wrong. And so if something's going right and you're running it and it's working, don't stop that. Keep it going and finish out that production. Especially if you're a small shop, you're not worried about trying to optimize this lean manufacturing method or anything like that. I'm not the smartest man, but man, if it's working, I'm not going to I always tell people this is a weird, I guess, simile, anomaly, or whatever, analogy is if the cow's standing there and letting you milk it, you don't go try to milk another cow, right? You keep milking that cow because it's working. And so when you're large custom jobs, man, if something's working, keep it going. Unless it's too much, it's going to crowd your shop. But man, if something's working right on that CNC and it's just a good day, the CNC woke up on the right side of the bed, keep it working, keep it grinding, and you'll have a lot of success. So good question. And congrats on your business so far. I know you're killing it, man. Congrats on the large custom job. Those don't come around too often. So congratulations. Milk that bull. That's a good one. 2-Baker screw. Of all your equipment, what machine is my favorite? My favorite piece of equipment, it depends what lens I'm through. On the business side of me, my favorite pound for pound piece of equipment we got is the flap sander. And that's that sander that spins and it has those flaps of paper on there and it spins really fast. That cost us like $7,000 and it's probably made us a couple $100,000 and saved us 2,000-3,000 hours of time. And so that machine has been the pound for pound best machine that I've ever purchased there. My favorite is probably my gyroscopic screwdriver, actually. My DeWalt gyroscopic screwdriver. They're $125. And since, we put together a lot of like piggy banks with tiny screws, and it's like the coolest tool that I have, and I don't understand how it works. And so that $125 tool, we have like 3 of them. That is my favorite thing, and I still don't understand how it works at all. So DeWalt gyroscopic screwdriver, my favorite tool that I own. Great question. And Two Baker Screw, once again, is another business. And man, that's why I love our community, and this community that we're going to start, really trying to grow, is that everybody is a maker. They're all doing good. They're all trying to start businesses. They're all starting their own businesses, and they're just looking to live that dream. Right. And, that's what I love about this, guys. I mean, I recognize so many of y'all are all killing it in y'all's own regard. Man, I really hope we continue to grow this and allow people to pursue their passion, right? This is like the coolest thing in the world, seeing everybody on here that is trying to do their passion for a living. And I think that's amazing. So Two Makers Crew, hats off to you. These guys are awesome. They will be probably joining me on a few live streams in the future. Great question. Yeah, STL, Greg. Yeah, talk to the flap sander people at IWF. I think I'm going to get one. Yeah, that's it'd be a great call. That machine is awesome. Sandpaper is expensive to replace, but man, that thing is awesome. It opens up the door to so many like tiny applications you can use. So let's see. Following up. Work with a 10 horsepower bump. It has 4 zones. I have issues with the workpiece smaller than like 12. Yeah. So on a vacuum pump machine like that, man, if you have a small piece, let's say 12 inches by 12 inches or 6 by 6, those are going to be extremely hard to hold down. That's when you got to use a down cut bit. Don't use up cut bits because it's going to move it. You might have to use double-sided tape. Those pieces are really, really hard to hold down. That's just a fact. So it's going to be, you want to use a down cut bit in that situation. If you're profiling it or something like that, V-carve shouldn't really pull it up any. Double-sided tape, put a screw in the corner and put like a little, or put a, you have a piece right here. I'm trying to show it. It's really awkward. You have a piece, you put the screw right next to it, and then have like a little tab that holds it, like a washer or something like that, in the very corner. But yeah, that's a tough situation you're in. Tough situation. Let's see if I can get my camera to focus here again. I really messed it up. Let me see. Let's focus. Okay. Here we go. All right. Great question. Oh, this is a fantastic question, Madra. By the way, this is fantastic question. How many fonts do I offer for my personalized signs? So for my signs, I have like 2. So I would say the max amount of fonts you need is 4. I see a lot of people make a mistake where they have 10 different options, and that's not helping the customer. It's confusing them more. And so I've learned this the hard way, where I had all these options and I narrowed it down to 5 and I narrowed it down to 4. And like on my Amazon channel, I only have 2 options. You have 2 font options. That's it, right? On most of my stuff now on Etsy is 2 options. I might have 3 color options, like a walnut, cherry, maple, or a dark walnut, espresso, natural, red oak, provincial, golden pecan, something like that. But as far as font options, you want a good cursive one, right? For the ladies. You want a good block font for the men, like a Century Bold, right? And then you want like kind of a middle ground one. I like Lucida Calligraphy. That's a good middle ground one. And so like it's in between a guy and a girl. So it's more of a neutral kind of font. But I like that route. And so maybe let's say 3, right? Your block font, you have your block font for your guy, your cursive font for your girl, and then a middle ground font for a guy or a girl. Don't worry about adding everything that's in Microsoft Word, right? Because that's very hard to scale and grow over time. But great question. man. All right. Okay. Steel-toed Crocs. Love the, that's an awesome name. How big of a deal is it dealing with freight shipping? It's not that hard. I actually do not deal with it. I could not give you a super honest answer on this. My team deals with it, but it's literally, it's a website. We book it from there. I can find out the website for you. My shop foreman's actually on this chat, so maybe he can link that website. But you book it, they show up sometimes within an hour, sometimes the next day, and they pick up and you just load them up. So if you need a lift gate, you tell them. If you have a forklift, you just load it up. It's pretty simple. I'll see if my shop foreman, he'll probably post that link, and I'll pin it for you. But it's really easy. I used to be scared of it and, wonder how the heck I could do it. It's not hard. It's not hard. All right. And guys, are you still liking this pace? I mean, I'm just really trying to answer a lot of questions. If this works for everybody, I'm going to try to do this on a weekly basis. So next Thursday at this same time, I'll have another one. And so next Thursday, 7 p.m., we'll be doing another one with some more announcements. I got some bits that I'm launching that I've been working on for a few months now. And yeah, it's they're gonna, it's good. It's good. It's good. I can't say anything else. I'm very excited about it. All right. God, these are a lot of hard, heavy business questions. All right. So CW3MH6 asked me another question. He said, how did you find Frio? Where do they approach you? And what did you think on your ROI? So Frio, for those of you who don't know, is a cooler company that I own. It's called Frio Coolers. And we have cooler bags and cups, a speaker cup. We're in a whole bunch of stores with it. We have these cedar coolers, these outdoor coolers that my wood shop makes. And so when I took over Frio, we had 20 employees, a few different locations. We're in a couple stores. Now we're in about 60 different stores with it. I actually started making all their wood products for them with the wood shop. And then the guy was like, hey, you're really good at making all this wood stuff. Do you just want to take over the whole company? And so it was kind of a mutual finding of each other. How did I think about the ROI? So when I looked at it, I'm young. I'm known for diving in the water head first without asking how deep it is. And so when I took over Frio, I am so gung-ho about learning that I was like, I want to see how much I'm going to learn about this business, whether I pass or fail, whether I pass or fail this whole takeover, buying another company, obviously it was a lot of energy, right? I already had the full-time woodworking. I had YouTube, and I bought a third company. Everybody's going to tell you that's a huge mistake. It's too much energy and time taken up. I just looked at it as a total learning opportunity. I know I'm young. I know I'm in my 20s. I know I have all the time in the world now. And I know that in the future, I will not have as much time when my kids grow up and, later on in life. And so I did not even look that much at potential ROI. I looked at how much, I guess, return on investment in my brain that I would learn from this purchase. And I will tell you, first and foremost, I have learned way more than I ever thought I would. And it has made me, it has really shifted the way I look at business, the way I look at products, the way I look at companies. And I could not be more happier with the decision of buying it. I'm not even talking about the money, just the amount that I've learned, the amount that, how hard it was extremely hard, right? I mean, there's multiple nights that, I stayed up all night wondering why the heck I did it. But the amount that I learned from it is incredible. I cannot emphasize that enough. And so, that's the answer. I don't know what the ROI is going to be. I can tell you right now, it has made me a significant amount of money on the learning side of stuff. So I'm going to be 100 times better of a business person in the future because of that purchase. All right. Let's see what we got here. All right. I have a question about logistics. When do you have customers that say that order items are bigger and are larger and pallets are required? Do you have a company recommendations? Where should I be looking at? And once again, this right here, it's going to be a broker. It's going to be a freight broker. We'll get you that link. I'll pin it. That's, we have 3 or 4 different companies pick up from the shop. So, you got to make sure the customer needs a lift gate, if they have a pallet, there's different stuff like that. But, you're going to get a freight broker. They're going to have all kind of competing, freight companies in there. It's a website. It's really nicely laid out. It's going to take you about an hour to learn how to do it. And then you'll be good. So Retro Gaming Princess, that's the answer. I'll get that website for you. Oh, and it looks like the skiing Jeep uses Coyote Logistics right here, and they use them as a freight broker. Avarit Express, T-Force Freight, DHL, you got a lot. So look in the comments section right here, and there's just a lot of good options. It's not as scary as you think it is, because I thought it was terrifying at first. Great question. All right. Chris asked a good question. Should I start off with a 4x8 or a smaller machine? I'm not against a larger machine. I'm a believer of buy it once. What do y'all think? Out of curiosity, guys, leave a comment what size CNC you have, or if you don't even have one. Let me know in the comments. I'm really curious on what size CNCs y'all guys are working with here. So Chris, to answer that, man, it really depends on what you're making and what your price point is. If you can afford a 5 foot by 10 foot CNC and have the space for it and have the money for it, and you know what you're going to make, and you're going to make your money back, then get a 5 by 10 CNC, right? But if you don't know what you're going to make and you just want to get a big CNC just for the fact that you have a nice big CNC, I don't think that's a great option, because you want to get the machine for whatever type of work you're going to be doing. So what I've found over time is I started smaller, right? I started with a 2 foot by 3 foot one, and it's grown over time into a bigger one. And so if you start with a smaller CNC, let's say a Onefinity 4x4 or a Shapeoko 5, 4 foot by 4 foot CNC, whatever CNC you want to name, right? If that CNC starts producing product and you start making money with it, and you're having a legit business, that CNC is going to, by far and large, pay for the next one. It wasn't even a question whenever I bought CNCs. Whenever I upgraded to the next size, it was never even a question. You typically can pay in cash, because you learn the basics with that small one, right? You learn how to operate it. You learn, what product to sell, right? You break some bits, because that's going to happen. And then you start selling that product and you're like, holy crap, this is starting to sell. When I need to get a bigger machine. And when you need to get a bigger machine is when that CNC is totally maxed out, right? When you're running that CNC 12 hours a day, that's when you know that okay, it's time for me to upgrade. And if you're running that CNC 12 hours a day, you will have the money to buy the next CNC. And you can either A, sell that smaller one, or B, keep it like I did and use it for prototyping and stuff, and then use your bigger one. So, I'm never going to tell you to buy a massive machine that you don't need. But I have found that, it's not about going big or going home. Buy it, buy your first CNC, buy your last CNC the first time. I think that's a saying on one of these companies. It's about what CNC is right for you. What do you need? How are you going to make the product? And then usually the product pays for the next CNC if you're successful with it. So that's a low risk way to get that bigger CNC that you want, is just sell your way there. And I cover that a lot in CIC Academy, because that's a pretty loaded question. So I have about 2 hours of video that's kind of going over that, and I'm walking around my CNC explaining, you know, what I like and don't like about it. So yeah, that'll be in CIC Academy as well. Okay, we got quite a few different size CNCs here. Lots of 4x4s. Ooh, a 4x12 BSE. Francisco, I wonder how much does that run you? That a $300,000 CNC, I wonder, $250,000, something like that. Got some 4x8s, 24x24s, 32x32s. Man, Laguna Smart Shop, nice. Lots of 4x4s. Yep. 4x4s are really good options on CNCs, guys. They're fantastic. You know, I really like the because you can just cut that piece of plywood in half, stick it on there, and yeah, they're great. Ooh, Butch has a great question. When you built your shop, it seems like your dust collection was a very forward-thinking process. Have you reached a level of business where you expect when you bought such a large dust collector? Yes. So Butch, that is a great question, and the dust collection is actually a really funny story. So whenever I first built my shop, you know, these big dust collectors are like $40,000, right? Up to $150,000. And I knew I had a guy that had the big tower, 42-foot tall tower dust collection I got. And it sucks 10,000 CFM. You know, it dumps into a hopper that we dump into an 18-wheeler. So our dust collector is massive. You know, it's like, you know, we're in the middle of the farmland. And so like, it's just as tall as the grain dryers that are around us, right? It's real big. And I thought I would save money and go to Harbor Freight and buy 10, you know, $150 dust collectors instead of buying, you know, a $40,000 dust collector. And so, you know, it seems like a very forward-thinking process, but I thought I can get away with buying a whole bunch of small ones to save money. The problem with buying a whole bunch of small ones, and I had them cycling to like a barrel, so I was dumping the barrel instead of dumping the bags and all that. But whenever you process a bundle of wood, let's say a 500 board foot or 1,000 board foot of wood, you have to end up dumping it like 20 times during that process. And so literally the time it was taking to change out and swap dust collection systems was so expensive that it was actually logical for me to buy the $40,000 dust collector and have it installed, have the slab installed and all that good stuff over changing out that dust collection over and over and over again. So I still have a lot of those dust collectors that I bought that I thought I could just kind of sneak with and, you know, from Harbor Freight. But yeah. And so, you know, when I bought it, I knew it was oversized. We had some release valves in there. And my game plan was to grow because I want that ranch. I want that ranch for my family. I want that ranch to raise my kids on. And so I knew the business had to grow in order to get that ranch. And so I thought that the dust collector was oversized at the time. But, you know, I knew I was going to grow into it because that was my dream. So great question. Great question. Ooh, awesome. Watching your videos from Japan. That is awesome. Well, thank you. I really appreciate that, guys. Really appreciate that. It just shows there's woodworkers and CNCs everywhere. Everywhere. This is awesome. Let's see what we got here. Boom, 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 boom. Greg's leaving. See you later, Greg. Catch you later. STL Woodworking. Boom. Oh, guys, if y'all can hit that like button as well. Good. Thank you, Fatfish. It's my first live stream. I don't know all the things to say. If y'all can hit that like button, that'll really help out the algorithm. And yeah. And makes me feel better, makes me sleep slightly better at night. So thank you for that. Let's see. Do I know of any CNC or CNC lathes that can be auto load to batch out multiple small parts between operator intervention? Not that's reasonably priced. Not that's reasonably priced. Not at all. You're looking at a $200,000 machine, $300,000 machine, something like that, maybe $700,000. They get super expensive. yeah, I don't know. I don't know on that end. I really don't. But I know they're very, very, very expensive. You may as well just make a duplicator on a regular CNC lathe, and like the math doesn't add up for a very long time on that. But if you're that much production, you know, maybe the multiple $100,000 CNC is a good option. Yeah, it's pricey. It is pricey. Perfect. Let's see what other kind of questions we got here. And guys, I'm going to continue on this until we run out of questions, or till it's for another hour. So I'll do this for another hour or until we run out of questions. But yeah, so far this is good. I feel like we're answering. We have a lot of good questions, a lot of good businesses in here asking really good questions. You know what? Fatfish talked about an auto loader for a CNC. You know, auto loaders are they're good, but you got to have a lot of production with an auto loader. A lot of people, and I think I think hobbyists get wrapped up in like efficiency because you're a woodworker, right? You want to be really efficient. You want everything to just be perfect, and you know, you don't want the system to work. But you know, the change out time on a CNC is not going to kill you most of the time, right? When the change out time starts being your constraint, right? When the 5 minutes of change out time that it takes you to, you know, take that part off the CNC or that auto loader, right, on and off the CNC, when that thing is your time constraint because you are so busy, then that makes sense. But before then, it doesn't make any sense to have all these little efficiencies when the constraint of your business, when your bottleneck is not like the change out time. Most of y'all's bottleneck is the selling, right? Most of your bottleneck is how many products am I selling? You know, my CNC can probably overproduce the amount of products that I'm selling. And so your constraint is typically sales, not anything doing with production. Michael, see y'all next week. Thank you for tuning in, man. Really appreciate it. Michael Garcia, thank you. Let's see, we got a question right here. What made me choose my Onstrud for my big CNC, and what made you decide on that one, and what other brands were you considering? With the Onstrud, man, I'm a big believer in companies that only do one thing. So I'm a big believer in focus. And you know why I liked Onstrud? Because they only make CNC machines, right? That's the only thing they do is make CNC machines. And so I like them for that reason, right? Shop Saver, the only thing they do is make CNC machines. And so when you call their tech support, when you're reaching out to them, you know it's built good, you know that you know you're going to get a high quality machine and you're going to get high quality customer service. So I typically stick with companies that only do one thing when I'm making a big purchase. And I know there's massive companies out there that can do other, you know, multiple things really good. But in the CNC world, Onstrud was one of those machines, you know, CNC companies that have been doing stuff for a long time at a very high level. And so I went with them. Why I picked a CNC of that size, I needed more production and the same size footprint. And so I had to get something with two heads, and it had to be super powerful. And so because my two shop sabers that I had, my two 5-foot by 10-foot shop sabers, were running 24 hours a day, every single day. And so my constraint was production. So I needed to increase production, but keep the same footprint. So I sold one of my shop sabers and then put a dual head CNC in its spot. And I like to see our Onstrud's dual head CNC, and the fact that their business, that is all they do is CNC machines. So boom. Man, this is a great question. Teddy Bear Designs. Love the logo, by the way. Love the logo. Oh, any of y'all guys, I have a question about y'all's logos. Did y'all make y'all's logos yourself? Or did you find a freelancer or hire a logo out? And if you hired a logo guy, what did it cost you? So did you make your logo yourself, or did you hire somebody to make it for you? And if they did, what did that cost? really curious on some of this. Very curious on this. Okay, so Teddy Bear, what do you recommend for an ATC for a smaller machine, or is it overkill for a hobby machine? So on these automatic tool changers, it depends what you're running. Like if you have 1 or 2 tool changes, you know, if it's a very small product, right? You know, let's say you're making, I don't know, coasters, right? For some reason, this coaster right here. And you want to run you want to cut it out and then you want to V-carve it, right? And you're thinking of getting an automatic tool changer because you can cut out and V-carve at the same time. You know, I would think about, could I cut out all of my coasters with that bit, you know, cut out 100 of them and then V-carve all 100 of them, right? That's a different way of thinking about it. Like, instead of getting automatic tool changer and paying for it, how do I make my process that I currently have efficient with the CNC that I have? So that's the first thing I would try to do, is, you know, try to batch everything out and then switch bits and then batch everything out again. You know, when you start needing an automatic tool changer, once again, it's when the tool change is taking so much of your time that it's limiting your business or constraining your business. It's all about constraints and bottlenecks. And so, you know, if your CNC sits 4 hours a day and you want to get an automatic tool changer, so it sits 5 hours a day because it's slightly faster, like that's not going to help anything, right? You're better off spending your money on some books to learn marketing and sales. And so on that front, you know, I'm a fan of automatic tool changers. You know, I love them. They are amazing, but you do not need them most of the time until you get to that point where you're so busy that the constraint is the change out time and the constraint of your business is your CNC. I constantly keep going back to that because it is so important, because in the woodworking world and the CNC world, there's so many shiny objects out there, right? There's so many new things. There's the newest gadget and gizmo for your CNC. And that's why I'm not sponsored by anybody. Y'all notice that? I'm not sponsored by any tool company. You know, I don't wear sponsored stuff because I don't want to steer y'all in a direction that I do not believe in. And so, yeah, I'm a big advocate of you do what's best for you and try to focus on the sales, and then everything else follows. It's really easy to buy gadgets and gizmos when you're bleeding money because you have so many sales. So I hope that helps. All right. So a lot of y'all, let's see, we got a graphic design artist. I'm going back to that logo question. We had a graphic design artist cost $500, people making their own, $1,500 for professional design, still looking for a logo. You know, I have found the best thing on logos is, you know, they don't have to be super complicated. I think I paid $600 for mine at the time, but Fiverr is a great option for logos, guys. If you're starting a new business, you know, reach out to Fiverr. It's going to cost like and I'll link it. We'll put a link to Fiverr in here, but you know, it's going to be like $50, maybe $150 for a logo design from them. And so Fiverr is a great option. I'll pin a Fiverr link for y'all in the comments, but yeah, it's super cheap, and it's a great way to do logos. So. All right. Got a question from Steel Toe Crocs. How much is foreign competition a concern for my business and longevity? I had a drink. Hold on. Let me drink to this one. Let's get business on this one. So whenever I was smaller, foreign competition wasn't a big deal. Like, yes, like on Etsy, there's all kind of competition and you're looking at them and you're mad at them, right? Because they're cheaper than you and all that. But like, they really didn't impact directly my business. Now that I am bigger, and I'm not saying I'm massive, but like now that I'm a little bit bigger, they are concerned because they are a direct competitor. and they kind of, it depends what foreign company you're talking about, but they are a direct competitor. It is a concern of mine. And so I have to think of different ways to position my business in order to fight the foreign competition, right? One thing that I believe is true, I don't know this for 100% fact, but China typically only has like 2 colors of wood, right? They have acacia and they have rubber wood. So the equivalent of like walnut and maple. Okay. They only typically have like 2 good colors, and maybe that mahogany, right? Or something like that. But if I make something out of walnut, cherry, and maple, it's made with 3 colors. And so because it has 3 colors, China can't compete with that because they typically stick with 2 colors. Even their bamboo products, right? Bamboo can only be carbonized or natural. So it can only be 2 different colors. And so when you think about your products, just by adding a 3rd color can maybe differentiate yourself from the competition, right? Or adding personalization, because when people ship from overseas, you know, they can't mass produce personalized products. And so like signs are always a good option to kind of get away from the foreign competition. So you really, I study it now and to try to find my little competitive advantage, because it's really a David versus Goliath scenario, right? They're so much bigger, so much well prepared. They have government on their side. You know, they're going to be, you know, they don't even have to run at a profit. You know, they can run at a loss just to beat you. And so I just look at my angles that I have, right? Using 3 colors of wood, doing personalized products. How does this stain look? You know, is it big enough where maybe they don't want to ship it? Is it fragile? How do I get around that? Yeah. So I guess, is it a concern for me? Absolutely. I look at it all the time now. Longevity wise, I got to keep improving. I can never stop improving. I don't think, you know, yeah, I'll never stop improving. And so I have to beat domestic competition and foreign competition. And so I just got to be better every single day. That's it. I just got to keep being better. Simple fact. Great question, Steel Toe Crocs. Thank you so much for the question. Really appreciate it. Boom. If you are tech savvy enough, electronic engineer, do you really think an older CNC would be that bad of an idea? I can't answer that question for you. I have no earthly idea, because I am not the tech savvy engineer guy. I'm a country boy that likes to press buttons and watch a machine move, and I think it's cool when I can drink a beer to it, right? Like I do not know if it's a good or bad idea. The question I would have on that is, what software does it run on? I'm not that savvy on like uploading different softwares and Mach 3s and Mach 7s or all that crazy stuff there. So I would be really concerned about the computer system on that one. Not necessarily the parts, but like what software does it run on? How dated is it? Stuff like that. So that's the questions that I would ask there to try to figure out, if that's a good idea. But it usually comes down to electronic pieces on that, how old they are. I have a great Villanueva. You have another great question. Look at that beard, by the way. I don't know if I can see that beard in that profile picture, but this guy's a great guy. His beard is phenomenal. He actually has a beard oil. I hope you're still selling it. It's a fantastic product. Obviously, I'm working on mine, but this guy's phenomenal. Great beard. So he asked the question, has anyone ever used Fair? Let me know in the comments, guys, if you actually have used Fair or heard of it. If anybody used Fair or heard of Fair. Because that's a pretty big, it's a pretty big thing. And for those of y'all who don't know what Fair is a lot like Etsy, but it's for stores to buy your stuff on. So it's like an Etsy, but for wholesalers. Okay, yeah, so a lot of y'all have never heard of it. Okay. So I sell some stuff on Fair. We'll probably do, I don't know, a few $10,000. I don't know, a couple thousands of dollars on Fair. Nothing crazy. I don't love it. I don't hate it. It's how like people get mad because they can't control a lot of stuff on Etsy. you can control much less on fair. We'll probably do $300 a week on fair, but it's a very, very low margin, right? Like we literally do it just to kind of keep the shop flowing and keep products flowing. But yeah, fair's quite, fair takes 15%, guys. Put it that way. Fair takes 15%, and they want to charge, and you're selling to stores. So stores are going to double. So like, let's say you make a product for $10, right? Make a product for 10, that's your break-even cost, right? You want to make a little bit of money on that. Well, if you sell it to a store for $20, the store is going to sell it for $40. That's most of the time, right? They're going to double the price. And so fair sells that to the store at the discounted price already, plus they take 15% of your margin. And so it's really hard to make money on there. And I think when you're just starting off, or if you have a small one-man shop, I think it's really hard to make the numbers work. I do. I cannot figure it out. I'm on it. I cannot figure it out for smaller businesses. We literally do it just to move some product that, we don't move really fast on Etsy. And then, let's say a store buys it from us, I don't know, Carl's toy store, right? Carl's toy store buys from us. We'll then reach out to them, give them a phone call and see if they want to order from us directly. But man, it's hard. It's very hard to make it on fair. I would say put focus elsewhere. They've reached out to me, wanting me to promote them. I don't want to promote that to y'all guys. It's hard. It's hard. So, another thing, guys, I got a question for y'all. What's y'all's favorite bit to use? What is your favorite bit? Let me see. Let me see if I can type this. There we go. There we go. I pinned it. Look at that. Cadence. Yep. Cody. 3/8, 3/4, 3/8 bowl bits. 60-degree V bit. Any of the Jennies. 1/4 inch down cuts. Yep. Yeah, me and Cody with Cadence Manufacturing, we're actually working on some bits as well, guys. And so if y'all know who Cadence Manufacturing is, this guy's great. I think he was in the chat, but he left. This guy is phenomenal. He's I think an aerospace engineer. He used to be. He does a really good job. Any of the Jenny bits, 1/4 inch down cut. Yeah, my favorite's probably 1/4 inch down cut. That's my most used bit. I've probably used over 500 of them. So that's probably my favorite bit that I've ever used, ever in the history of ever. So, let's see. Yeah, and what do you think? Like, what do y'all guys think of? Like, what's the bit that's lacking most in the market? Let me ask that question. Like, what bit do you think somebody really needs to design a better version of? That's the next question. Let's see if I can find another question for y'all guys. So let me pin this guy right here. Skiing Jeep. I want to offer coasters, but we can custom engrave. It's not cost effective. Oh, let me see if this thing can focus here. Okay. It's not cost effective for us to do the setup. Does anyone know who sells USA made coaster blanks in bulk? Let me see if this thing can focus on me right here. Let me get my hand there. Okay. So if anybody knows anybody that can sell USA made coaster blanks in bulk, let the Skiing Jeep guy know. He will love if y'all know of anything for him. Let's see. How many cheap bits before buying the Jenny beginner set? Ooh. Right here. This is a great question. Do I think coated bits are worth it? So I just had a hour-long discussion with a CNC bit engineer with this exact same question. God, I wish I had my whiteboard closer. I would show y'all. And so this is how a coating works. I was not a big believer in them. I'm not a, and different coatings. So like the rainbow coating that Amana uses, there's like a dark coating, there's a blue coating, there's a gold coating. You know, I think the gold coating is the best, and that's the one that Cadence Manufacturing uses. It's a ZRN coating. I think that one has the highest like hardness value. Don't quote me on it, but I'm pretty sure that is that's the best coating on a bit. But how a coating works on bits, and I had this argument because I was not a believer in them at first. And how a coating works is, let's say you have the edge of your blade right here, okay? What a coating does is it covers up that edge of the blade. Gosh, this is so weird. Okay. It covers up the edge of that blade. And so I always thought whenever you cut through that coating, right, whenever you start cutting and that coating wears off, it's just back to carbide, right? And so it's like, why cover a knife in ceramic when you're going to, you know, dull the blade anyways? But how it works is the coating is actually harder than the blade itself. It does make it slightly duller in like the micrometers or whenever they measure like the tiny thing. So this coating makes it slightly duller, but it is so hard that it actually, you know, it lasts, that slightly duller edge lasts longer. And then the coating is slick. So if you know about CNC bits, right, they get hot because of friction. And so that coating allows a little bit more slickness. And so whenever they say that the coating keeps the bit cooler, what happens is that lubricity is a big word they use. That coating is going to allow wood to slide off of it a lot more, okay? Or aluminum, etc. Coatings are really big for aluminum and metal machining, but it allows that wood to slide off and not build up as much friction. So whenever you're cutting into that wood, right, and cutting piece by piece by piece, that wood is then sliding off, and it's doing it at a very high rate, and so it causes less friction. And so a coating is much better for, you know, it depends what bit you're using, but coated bits should last longer. They should stay sharper longer because the gold coating, I know for sure the ZRN coating is harder than the tungsten carbide itself. And so that coating will last longer and it will improve the life of that bit by about 2x. I think Amanas are a little bit overhyped, not going to lie. I think the Spectra coating, that coating is the cheapest to do. Talking to these bit engineers, it's the cheapest to do. The hardest to do is the gold one. There's like a darker one in the middle. There's a kind of a silver one. That's up there by the gold bit. It's pretty good. But you know, I've did a lot of stuff with them, and you know, they've, you know, either one works. Was whatever you're making money with, to be honest with you guys, whatever you're making money with. So, you know what? Hey, hey guys, y'all want me to show you a y'all want me to give y'all a sneak peek at my chip load calculator? Let's see if I can I share? I wonder if I can share my computer on this one. I wonder, yeah, do y'all want to see my a little sneak peek of my chip load calculator I've been working on? It's going to get launched really quickly. I mean, here pretty soon. It's awesome. Just a real sneak peek. All right, perfect. All right, let me see if I can do this for you guys. So it's not perfect yet whenever I show you all this, but it's getting there. So let me just do a quick sneak peek. Y'all are going to love this. Y'all are going to love it. So let me see if I can do this for you guys. Hopefully I have nothing crazy on my screen. All right, let's see. Let's see if I can do this. Here we go. All right. So this right here is this chip load calculator I've been working on. And so how it works, guys, And this is a real quick sneak peek. Y'all are going to be y'all are the first ones to ever see this calculator. So it's going to be, this is one of the things that you're going to get whenever you sign up for the academy. You'll get it for free, you know, no payment required, anything like that. But how it works is on this backside, you put in your CNC. So let's say you have a, you know, let's say you have a Onefinity, right? Or Ryan's CNC, okay? And you put your max feed rate of, let's say, 300 RPMs or 300 inches a minute, right? And so you put that in there. And over here on the calculator, you come and select that CNC, Ryan CNC. You select your wood type, hardwood, softwood, hard plastic, soft plastic, etc. So you'll select your wood type. Boom. And we make sure, can y'all see it? Okay, good. All right. You select your wood type. You select your bit cutting diameter. So let's say you're using a 1/4 inch bit, 2 flutes. Then you put in your depth of cut. And it's going to recommend you a feed rate based on your max feed rate of the thing. And so this one is saying it's compensating because of the max feed rate of my CNC. So it's for hobbyists, it's so good because a lot of times people run, you know, underutilize their CNCs. And so this way you can really utilize it. So right here, so let's say you want to run an 1/8 inch bit in soft plastic, or let's say plywood right here, and you're going to cut an 1/8 inch deep with it. That's your feed rate. There you go. And so you'll set it, let's say 150 inches a minute. It's going to show green, and it's going to tell you your chip load. And so this is all in inches per minute, etc. But this is something I've been working on for a very long time. And so quickly, let's go to like a bigger CNC. Let's say this unstrewed right here can run 2,000 inches a minute. And so I'll go to it. And this is what we use in the shop on a daily basis. And so I'll go select that CNC. I'll select some hardwood. I'll use a 1/4 inch bit, 2 flutes. I'm cutting a 1/4 inch deep at a time. And it's telling me to run my bit at 324 to 396 inches a minute. So boom, there you go. If you want to run it at 16,000 RPMs, you change it, and it's going to change what your feed rate needs to be. And so once again, you got that smaller CNC you're running. It's going to tell you, hey, you can't run it as fast because your CNC is too small, right? It cannot handle that. And so you can literally just adjust to try to find out like where to run in this at. Now, the caveat of this, and you know, once again, this is just a quick sneak peek. I don't want to show any more. I'm still finishing up the final tweaks, but that stuff it's awesome. So there you go. Okay. Okay. So what that is going to be able to do is allow you to set your feed rates to your CNC. Now, you may say that feed rate still seems really fast. Well, that's where you can customize it, right? You can put your max feed rate at 100 inches a minute, and it's just going to recommend your different feed rates that you need. And so it's really cool. Really cool. But yeah. So, all right, let's see. Did y'all like that? Y'all like that calculator? Let's see what we got here. Yeah, I talked about it months ago. Yes, James, I did, but it also took a long time. All right. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's really cool. I took a long time working on that. It's been, since I made that video, I was making that chip load calculator before I made that video. So I've been working on it for, I guess, 4 months with another subscriber, Lynn. He's a software engineer, so he's been really helping me make it. So, yeah. Let's see. Yeah, yeah, it's cool, man. All right, this is a great question. So the Retro Gaming Princess asked a question. She asked, last question, because I don't want to think about scale and I'd rather do my own thing and do it well enough to be that one-stop shop. Is that the wrong mentality? You know, it really depends on your goals on this one, you know, that's it. You know, that it's just going to depend on what you want to be and what you want to do in life. You know, if you come from the craftsman side of things and you just want to master your craft and you don't want to have to worry about people and having employees and having that stress put on you, being a one-man shop is a excellent option. Excellent option. If you need, you know, if you, like for me, I want to buy a ranch for my family. I know I couldn't do that without hiring people, right? Are employees always great? No, my employees are, some of these guys are watching this. They're not always great. They're not always fun. I love them to death. I guess it's kind of like children, you know, you love them. You don't always like them. Yeah. Or maybe that's my wife. I don't know, one of those. But you know, it's just up to you, whatever your goals are. There's no wrong mentality. It just depends what you want to do in life with your business. So great question. Yep. Yeah. Hopefully my wife doesn't watch this, by the way. I really hope she doesn't. Fat Fish, you are correct. Money is not the end goal. Freedom is. I completely agree with that. Yeah, I completely agree with that. Like I said, the ranch is my end goal for my family for this time being. It's not necessarily money. I mean, I have to have money to buy the ranch, but it's not like a super monetary thing. It's just, I want to get there for my family one day, but I love woodworking. So I'm doing it, you know, I don't know. I'm doing what I love while I'm trying to get the ranch, and my family works for me. So like, we're all in this together, growing the wood shop to get the ranch one day, right? I have both of my parents work full-time for me. My wife does, 2 brothers work full-time, and a cousin. And so like, we are a full-fledged family business. And our one goal, and we talk about this all the time, is like, let's grow this business to get the ranch one day. That's it. Like that's the goal. Now I'm probably I'm a worker bee, so I'm going to continue working probably, you know, till I die, which that's okay with me. I like to work, but yeah, it's a family business. So yeah, money's not always the end goal. Freedom is. I completely agree with that statement. And I love working with family and, you know, having a goal to work towards. So back to your, the retro gaming princess, you know, back to that question is, you know, that is my goal. That is my family's goal. And we are steadfast towards that goal. And, you know, that's why we do what we do. Let's see. Got another question here. So when starting out, planning out, building, marketing, listing items, taking photos, dealing with shipping, etc., how do I structure balance? Sorry, sometimes I take a little long to answer these questions. I just want to make sure it's a good answer. So I'm guessing you're talking about website marketing and stuff like that, you know, or Etsy or something. I like 4-hour batches. So like 4-hour stretches of focused work. That's how I do it. It's my way of staying focused because I'm a spaz. And so I like trying out a whole bunch of different things, right? I need 4 hours of uninterrupted focus, you know, of doing whatever task it is. And so, you know, that's how I guess, cope with everything. But it's not necessarily a balance. It's just more of like, okay, I'm listing items for the next 4 hours. That is all I'm doing. Or I'm taking photos today. And all I'm doing is taking photos. And if I get photos taken today, it is a good day. If I get that done in an hour or get that done in 12 hours, it doesn't matter. I am taking photos today. As far as shipping goes, right, that's a daily process. And so, you know, you may have to do that every day. You know, you take your first 4-hour block from 8 a.m. to noon or 5 a.m. in the morning till 9 a.m., whatever your 4-hour block is. And then you'll have that hour break. So you'll go ship during that hour or that 2-hour break. And then you'll have your second 4-hour block or 3-hour block the rest of the day. And that's how I've learned to really break down those complicated tasks, because I just need to have that focus. And that has really helped me out and allowed me to get better get better at each of those things. Because if you're trying to do marketing and photos and listing items all at the same time, it's going to be overwhelming. You're going to be confused. You're not going to be very good at either one because you're doing too many things. And so what I always try to tell people on focus, it's like a magnifying glass, right? You want to take all of your energy and focus it down and really try to hone it in, just like a magnifying glass does with sunlight. And so you want to be that magnifying glass to take all of your energy and focus it on one task. And those 4-hour blocks really help me focus in on those one task that I want to do. Hope that answers your question, Steel Toe Crocs. So do I typically hire people with past experience, or I hire people with good personalities and attitudes and just train them? It really depends on, what we're doing inside the shop. I will say if somebody has a bad attitude and a bad personality, they do not last very long. I don't tolerate it. Nobody else tolerates it. So, the first thing is, like, if they have a bad attitude, I wouldn't hire them. So, like, they first and foremost has to have a good attitude or a good personality, or they're not trainable. And everybody's going to need some bit of training. Even if they have past experience, they're not with you. They don't know how you do it or how your company does it. And so I would probably say that attitudes and personalities affect me more than the past experience, because at least we're around where I'm at, a lot of people don't have a lot of woodworking experience, right? So we're training everybody. We're teaching them. A lot of the guys, we're teaching them sandpaper on up, right? We're teaching them saw blades, sandpaper, kerf, 80 grit, 120, 180, all of those things, what mineral oil is. But if they have a good attitude, then they can learn all that stuff, right? And the thing that I've learned over time is that now that we have enough people with a good attitude, if somebody's bad, the guys, the culture of the company will weed those guys out. But I had to hire a lot of people with bad attitudes to figure that out. So pretty much there's only a few guys in my company that had past experience. Other than that, they're teachable. They're ready to learn. We're a very young crowd. And so most of my guys are in their 20s. Very few. We have a couple that are older than 20 years old, or older than, 30 on up. But most of us are really young. We're really eager, and we have a lot of energy. And that's what I love about my guys, right? Like we're ready to learn. We're willing to learn. Just teach us, because woodworking, you're never going to know everything, right? Especially in CNC world. So that is a great question. I like attitudes, because you can't teach that. You cannot teach that. Okay. Train them the way you want. Yeah, I would agree. Train them the way you want. Train them the way you want. Oh, Retro Gaming Princess. Yeah. If your goal is absolutely mastering your craft, then that's a beautiful thing. There is nothing cooler than watching somebody that's a master at their craft. I will say that first and foremost. Say like that. That's impressive. Yeah, looks like a lot of y'all agree with me on the hiring side. I mean, I'm young. I mean, I've only hired probably 30 people. Some of y'all may have manager experience and have hired a ton of people. So, if you have a better answer to that question, let them know in the comments. That's off of my experience with hiring people. Do I have any mentors or someone in particular I watch or read to improve my business or woodworking skills? Woodworking skills, I watch everybody. I mean, I learn from, really anybody in the CNC world, right? Whether it's Andy Bird, Hamilton, IDC Woodcraft, a little bit of Two Moose. I actually like a lot of smaller creators like Mitchell's Woodworks. I think that guy does a fabulous job. Aqua Vitae Woodworks, he does a fabulous job. Greg with STL Woodworking, he does a fabulous job. I think I'm always learning on the woodworking side because there's just so much to learn there. On the business side, I would say it depends what level I want to learn, right? Sometimes I like watching these old farmer guys and like just talking to different farmers and different people, like different ranchers, because they have a different perspective in business than guys that are in the tech industry, right? And so I try to be pretty well-rounded where I don't only watch people that are in the tech industry or that people that drive nice Lamborghinis, but I try to talk to the farmer over here and the tech guy over here, and then a guy that's a banker, and then a guy that's, you know, a plumber. You know, I try to talk to a plethora of people to try to be pretty well-rounded in business. But once again, I'm young and I'm trying to learn and absorb everything as much as possible as I'm going along this business journey. So I hope that's a good question. Ooh. So this one right here, this is a good question that I think needs to be addressed that a lot of people don't talk about. You know, I talked about being that magnifying glass, right? Having all of that focus. So a lot of people try to sell on multiple sales channels. So the question is, should we focus on a single sales channel or go to multiple sales channels? And I think, yeah, Mark Lindsay, by the way, that is a great option as well. I forgot about Mark Lindsay. He's awesome. So should people focus on a single sales channel or go with them all? You would think when you first start off, you need to diversify, right? You need to be on Etsy, your website. You need to be in a couple stores. You need to be selling on Facebook Marketplace. You need to go to craft shows. You need to do all of those things. The issue is when you go to all of those things and do all of those things, you're not very good at any of them because the person that is only on Etsy is beating you. And the person that's only going to craft shows is beating you. And the person that only does their website is beating you. And so what you have to realize is, like, if you're only spending 5 hours at each of those things a week and somebody's spending 40 hours a week focused on that one sales channel, they're going to master it and beat you day in and day out. And so I am a firm believer in doing one sales channel until you get to six figures, 100%. You know, and maybe you never want to get to six figures, and that's okay. But like, if Facebook Marketplace and you're in a good area and Facebook Marketplace is your good, you know, your good channel that you want to focus on because you're living in a nice area, like, only do that. Now, you still can have social media, right? And you post on there and like you're relevant on social media, but like, get them to that is your sales channel. Or like, if you have a website, right? All of your stuff needs to flow to that sales channel. Okay. Everything else is just marketing, but your sales channel is just so important to master it. So like for me, I did Etsy for 5 years straight. I did nothing else but only Etsy. I had a website that I tried to funnel people to, right? Like off of Etsy onto the website, but it wasn't I wasn't worried about the website. That wasn't my sales channel. Etsy was my primary sales channel for 5 years. And that's how I mastered it. You know, I understand it a lot. We've done, I think, over 10 million on Etsy at this point. And so like, that was my one sales channel. If I was only doing Etsy a couple hours a week and trying to do everything else, I would not be where I'm at because that was the only thing I focused on. I think that's so important of a lesson that people really need to understand, that it's very hard because everything else is shiny, right? Like everything else has all of these shiny objects and all that. You have to stay focused. You have to be that magnifying glass that's channeling all of that energy, all that sporadicness, all that passion into one thing. Like, it is so, I cannot overstate that importance. And I talk about that a lot in CSE Academy, like too, like that's a whole entire module is how to pick a sales channel, what product fits on that sales channel, how does it work? You know, what are the best practices for each different sales channel? But I have found that to be probably the biggest attribution to my woodworking success is mastering a sales channel. So that answers my own question, but it's a really important statement I wanted to make and let, whoever's remaining, hear that. It's super important. So, and guys, I'll probably do one more or two more questions, and then we'll wrap this up. So far, this has been an amazing session. All right. Do I have a product insert strategy or a handwritten note or message? So I'm a big believer in handwritten thank you cards. We write thousands of them every single year in my business. And so that is probably that helps you get 5-star reviews the most. And so if you can write handwritten thank you cards and put them in your packages before you ship them, it's really hard to write a 1-star review when you've got a handwritten thank you note. So even if your product sucks, if they open it up and they see a nice handwritten thank you note with your number, like, hey, give me a call if you ever need anything, or if anything's ever screwed up, give me a call. I make this in my shop. I care about it so much. I hope you love it. I hope, your son loves it too, right? Put that in the box, and it's very hard to get a 1-star review. And that has helped me get a lot of customers keep coming back to me. So, yes, you can come tour my shop anytime. I am always here. Come on down. I'm always here at my shop. And the last question, and we'll wrap this up, guys. Next week, 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, I will be doing another live stream, and I might be introducing some of those bits that we've been working on. This has been great. Tell your friends, give this a like, and let's try to keep growing this live stream to make it bigger. I hope I answered y'all's questions. I hope this helped. Love y'all much, guys, and let's keep on keeping on. Peace.